Good morning, friends. Welcome to Gardening with Creekside. I am Jenny, and here we are for our weekly nursery tour. And good news, the greenhouse is completely assembled and put together. So we are going to talk about that and show you all of the great details on the completed greenhouse. Now, it's not 100% completed because obviously there's still more to be done, but it is fully built and assembled. The guys have gone back home to Georgia, so we're going to show you all of that. I will tell you, it is a bright, crispy Saturday morning here at the nursery. We are in the upper 20s. So if you see some plants that are a little and Jenny's hands stay in her pocket, it's because it's cold. I have about 5 layers of clothes on, but it feels fantastic. The sun is out and it's a blue sky, so it's going to warm up really quickly. Just wanted to let you know in case you saw some plants that looked a little sad. So let's talk about the greenhouse. Fully assembled. It is together. The roof is on. Like I said, everything is done. The guys have gone home. So this is basically what it is going to look like for the rest of the time. So let's just go through and kind of give a little bit of an overview. Now, for those of you who are new or this is your first time, we're just going to recap. This is a double A-frame gutter connected greenhouse from Atlas Greenhouses in Georgia. It is not glass. It is an 8mm double polycarbonate sheeting. So, lack of a better word, it's plastic. But it is a double wall, so it does provide a little bit of insulation as far as the walls go. So the walls and the roof are all the same material. And then the sides are just like our production greenhouses, but just on a larger scale. They are the fabric roll-up curtains. The span here is 12 feet. This is as high as the curtain's gonna go. This is how high we decided to have them roll up. So when they stop, this is where they will stop. But it is basically just a nice, really thick, type of fabric. It's not like a cloth, but it is a, so rain won't blow in there. We have the panels on the 4 corners because when the curtain comes down, this will act as a little buffer so that in the wintertime when we're trying to have the greenhouse heated and the wind shoots through here, this provides that buffer and a little bit more of an insulation. If you remember up at the production greenhouses, these panels were the inflated double walled of the plastic. So just on a larger scale, this is what they do, because obviously there is no polyplastic on this, so there is no blower, there's nothing to inflate on this beauty. The bars, as far as these guys right here, when the curtain comes down, these are the curtain guards. So they've installed both of these so that when it gets windy and we have storms, that the curtain doesn't blow into the greenhouse and that it doesn't swing out. So the curtain will ride right here. As it comes down, it will come and rest on, this is what we call the hat base. So it will just sit right here. Now, how is this all operated? The curtain over here in the back is the motor, and there's one on each side, obviously, and these are temperature controlled. So the motor is that guy right there. It's a little hard to see because it's up so high, but it rides on the rail, the pole that you see, and it just rolls up and it rolls down. So that way, this is the pole that it rides on. Of course, these are the wires. So once we get it all, the electricity and everything hooked up, this is what we will plug into it. But yeah, they just roll up and down based on the thermostat and the temperature that we want the greenhouse. So maybe in the wintertime, we have it a little warmer. In the summertime, we want it a little bit cooler. We will get to a point, obviously, in the summer that they just stay up all the time. So yes, so that is on this side. And then coming in, it is basically one big giant room. We're not gonna have it divided or closed off. You could, that's the beauty of a gutter connected greenhouse, is that you could have panels between the greenhouses, and maybe say, you know, in the beginning you only fill this space up and you're only heating this space, and when this fills up, then you open up the next bay. We will have it all open. Of course, we've talked about we're gonna have a concrete floor. The concrete guys are set to come kind of around the beginning of December to get that poured, as long as they're up with their jobs and the weather cooperates and they don't get behind. So we will have a 4-inch thick concrete pad that covers the entire floor. So that will be really nice. There is a slope to the greenhouse from front to back. So we will have natural watershed that will go to the back of the greenhouse and then out of the greenhouse. Remember, we do have a French drain that basically runs the whole back side of the property of the greenhouse, of the nursery rather. And it just wraps around, so that will catch all the water and disperse it. So in here we have 4 circulation fans. The purpose of these 4 fans, you'll notice that they're pointed in opposite directions. It truly is for circulation, because it's going to rotate that warm air so all the warm air just doesn't hang out up at the top, and it makes it swirl around. So one is pointed to the back, one is pointed to the front, just like that kind of that whirlpool effect to get that air rotated and moving. Speaking of heat, there are 2 1500 BTU, excuse me, 150,000 BTU. Jerry has to correct me. 150,000 BTU heaters in here. Again, they are gas operated. They run off of gas. Of course, we can set the thermostat to whatever we want. So they are there. And then at the top, above the heater, you will see a box that has a fan in it. So the purpose of that fan is when the temperature in the greenhouse gets warmer than what we want, that will automatically kick on. And when that kicks on, there is a shutter on the back side. The shutter will open. And at the same time, not to make you too dizzy, up here in the front, there is a shutter at the tippy top. That shutter will open at the same time that the fan kicks on, and that is to suck out any hot air to cool it down. So that way it really does control the temperature. If it gets too warm, the heater is not on, the exhaust fan kicks on, sucks out hot air, and then once the temperature is correct, then it shuts off. So that's a constant cycle, especially in, well, on warm days, right? If it's sun, even if it's cold like today, once the sun comes up and it gets warm in here, you'll have that constant on and off because it's sucking out the hot air, warms up, back and forth, back and forth. So that's what that is. We are going to have to come up with a system for our hanging baskets, because y'all are so funny. Y'all are asking me if we're going to have chandeliers in here. No, this is not a extra living space. This is still a production greenhouse. So we are going to use it for production purposes. The ceiling will be completely covered in hanging baskets. So we will have, it'll be interesting to see how many we can fit in here, but I would say probably a couple hundred hanging baskets could fit in here. So those will be put in here. We've got to come up with some sort of system as far as hanging them and to a point where we can actually reach them. So we're going to put in some bars and some hooks. Irrigation, of course, will go on that. Each basket will have its own dripper. And then the floor will be, we will have tables in here to hold annuals and so forth. So this is both functional and pretty, and is going to make a great shopping experience for our customers come this spring and summer and in the years to come. But no, ultimately this is still very much a production greenhouse. We have gained quite a bit of square footage and growing space, so that is very exciting. So I think that's pretty much it on this side of the greenhouse. Of course, we've talked about that back here we're going to have, this is the door that will go out to the the utilities of the greenhouse, right? We're gonna have a little building back here that's gonna house the fertigation, the irrigation, all the controls and so forth and so on. You will notice that this door is up quite high because we are gonna raise that concrete pad 2 inches higher than this concrete pad. That way, when the water is shedding, it doesn't just go into that room and fill the room. It will come out of the greenhouse and kind of go that way towards the French drain. So that's what's going on here. We will keep one of these bays open as far as not having tables here, so that way customers can come in and out of the greenhouse on the side. But that's the beautiful thing about this greenhouse, is that we can configure the tables however we want and to create the space however we want. So that's really exciting and a little daunting in the fact of trying to maximize your growing space, yet still make it a very comfortable and easy place to shop. So I think we've covered everything on the greenhouse. Did I miss anything, Jerry? No, he says I did pretty good. All right, coming on out. Now, like I said, you can tell it's a little nippy out here today. The poor pansies are they're in shock, but you know what? That's the beautiful,
Bounce right back.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's the beautiful thing about pansies and violas here in the South. They are frosty and literally have frost on the leaves, but as soon as the sun comes up and they get a little heat on them, man, they just bounce right back. I know for you folks in the colder climates that you can't, even it gets too cold for y'all to grow pansies and violas all winter long. But for us in the South, that's what's so fantastic, is that we can plant them in the fall and they will give us color throughout the fall, winter, early spring season, and they're beautiful. Let's come on over here because I do want to show you a couple of things. Cleopatra keeps getting cut down further and further. I suspect after today she's really gonna I think she'll have bit the dust. But coming on over, you may notice that we are starting to do a little bit of cleanup on our perennials, especially after today with these cold temperatures in the 20s. We're gonna have more plants that take a hit, like our hostas, our ferns. If you'll notice, like we were over here yesterday, and so these are the ostrich ferns, right? So ostrich ferns are those gorgeous, beautiful ferns. But once you get a heavy frost or a freeze, then the foliage dies. And you simply just literally take them back to the nubs, right? So like this should have been cut off, right? So you have your nubs and that's fine. So over the winter, this is what it looks like. Of course, when it's in the ground, you may have pine needles around it or mulch, but you take it all the way back. So we were starting to do some cleanup on those guys. All right, so where we have some ferns that are completely deciduous and they will lose all their foliage in the winter, we have other ferns like this holly fern that will keep its foliage in the winter. Now, is it spectacular and does it look fantastic? No, it doesn't. But what we do is we leave this foliage all winter and we don't really trim it back until come springtime when you see all the new growth coming out. So depends on the variety of the cultivar, the type of plant. Some are going to completely lose it and some are not. Speaking of completely losing it, look over here. If you've been with Creekside for any length of time, especially since this growing season, this may hurt your heart just a little bit, but I'm sure I have a picture. I'll try to throw one up. This is an old refrigerator that a friend gave us, and so I turned it into a planter because anything can be a planter. And in here is this beautiful, it has beautiful fall colors right now, but this was a drinking gourd hosta, and it took up every bit of this refrigerator. I do have like a painted fern back there, a lady in red fern, and a stilby. Those are probably going to have to come out because Miss Drinking Gourd here took up the whole container. And then I use this as an annual planter. But hostas, once they get those cold temperatures, their foliage is just going to completely melt. Now, it's still pretty green down inside the hosta One is underneath the pines. It's a little bit protected. It'll be interesting to see what it does after these temperatures in the 20s. But even yesterday when we were here cleaning it up, I said, you know what, we're gonna leave it because it still has some really pretty fall foliage on it. So we're gonna leave it, but once it really melts down, all that will just, like, you don't even have to cut it. It'll just like pull right off. Everybody's gonna stay there for the winter. Probably come spring is when I'll move those ferns out, but they're very cold hardy and they can stay right there. Now, so you have an example of a deciduous perennial, right? But then let's come up over here. Whew, chilly, y'all. And we have Lenten roses. Now, these are Lenten roses that we got from Walter's Gardens. Lenten roses, Hellebore. You may have heard them called. These are all part of the honeymoon series. And Lenten roses are fantastic, tough perennials. Traditionally, they are shade to part shade, but let me just show you the foliage on this. I'll throw up some information and the different pictures of the flowers. But like I said, traditionally, they are shade to part shade. Some of the newer varieties, the hybrids, can do that sun, but they have really tough, thick foliage on them that is an evergreen. Tends to be deer resistant. Now, I know some of y'all have deer that will eat anything. As a general rule though, Lenten roses are very deer resistant because they are so tough. But they're called Lenten roses because they're going to bloom basically kind of around the season of Lent. So that late winter, early spring, you can have snow on the ground and beautiful Lenten roses in full bloom, but they come in all different colors. Like this one is Rome in red, which is a really dark color, almost that black burgundy. You can have some that are almost truly black. It's like a deep, deep purple, all the way to white, pinks, lime greens, all sorts of colors. Some tend to be more, their faces turned down a little bit, some are up. So you can have Lenten roses in your garden and just, it would be spectacular. So they are fantastic. So that's Roman red. Then here we go. This is it, Dashing Groomsman. So Dashing Groomsman again is that nice deep purple, almost a black, and we like Lenten roses because they're hardy in zones 4 to 9. So extremely diverse in your growing climate. Roughly they're going to be under 2 feet tall, and even that 2 feet tall is, for Lenten roses, you know, is getting on the kind of the high side, and it can be lower. Of course, if you have like hostas, those kinds of things, it, you know, pairs perfectly well with those. So Lenten roses are a lot of fun. Oh, Jerry was pointing me up here. Whew. Okay, see, look, grasses. Now, you don't have to cut your perennial grasses back in the fall. You can leave them in the spring. In fact, I was just reading, I think it was on Proven Winter's Instagram page, and they were talking about, you know, can you prune your grasses now or do you wait in the spring, late winter? It's a personal preference. We decided we were just going to go ahead and trim ours down. So basically these are ones that you can give a flat top to. Over here we have the Jack of Diamonds that is doing spectacular. Of course, it is a little frosty right now, but this is another shade-loving perennial that would pair beautifully with those Lenten roses, with your hostas. This is Heaven Sent, which just has such a really, beautiful foliage on it. I love just the texture of this, and that's what's so fun about gardening, is that your artistic side, even if you don't think you have an artistic side, like I would not consider myself artistic, but you pair different textures and leaf size. So where the Jack of Diamonds has this massive, beautiful, thick leaf, then the Heaven Sent is more light and airy and a small leaf on it, but they both bloom blue flowers. So all of that ties in really well with one another. So that's the fun of gardening, is that you can, again, reach out deep down inside if you have to, like me, in your artistic side, and you're just putting things together. You want tall things, medium size, short things. You want things that are a bright green, a dark purple. You're mixing all your colors and shapes and textures together. So much fun. Now, we're going to wrap it up, but I want to show you the unique stone that we still have left for our customers here at the nursery. Every time we get a unique stone order, y'all just have the most fun, just like I do, coming and shopping. But I just want to give you an update because I have had people asking me what's available and what's not available. So we still have the Weston urn. So if you'll remember, the Weston urn is what we also have on our back patio. So we have one of those available. Just a great container. It's clean lines, really simple but very elegant, grows beautiful plants. We do have one basket boy still left. I know we have two here, but one has sold. So this is the Charleston basket boy that is still available. If you like chickens, we've got 2 roosters and 2 Miss Prissies. So they are available. And these make great Christmas presents. So if you've got somebody in your life that you're just like, I don't know what to get them, unique stone always is a good answer. And then of course we have our little forest gnome. Well, he's short, but he is not little. He's a hefty fella. So we have those cute little forest gnomes that are just really sweet. He's got his little garden trowel in his hand, very nice. Then we have the estate pineapples. It's been interesting because I talk about how here in the South, pineapples are a symbol of hospitality. And it's been fun to hear from you folks because I have a sweet viewer in the UK who said the same thing, that it's a sign of hospitality for them. And then somebody in Canada told me it is the same in Canada. So I'm just thinking it's a universal thing. So pineapples, sign of hospitality. We still have both of the rectangle hummingbird feeders, hummingbird troughs, the square ones. So the troughs are still available. They are here, along with the Florentine bird bath. This is the same one that I have in our yard. And let me tell you, the chickadees are coming to it and they are just enjoying it. So the bird bath is available, and then we have 2 of these cute little sassy frogs. So sassy frogs, again, make great gifts for folks, so they are available as well. So if you are interested, come see us and grab some unique stone to take home. Employees are starting to come. The nursery is going to be open. I'm going to go start a campfire, so we're going to have a campfire here at the nursery today to get everybody nice and warm, and then smell of a good campfire burning. It's one of my favorite smells. So we're going to sign off. We will see you in the next video. If I don't talk to you before, because I'm not sure exactly when we're going to run this, if I don't talk to you before, I pray that you have an amazing Thanksgiving for all of my U.S. folks. So have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Go ahead and eat too much. It's okay, right? I know I do. Enjoy your time with your friends and your family. And as always, thank you so much for gardening with Creekside. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.